Everyone in town said the same thing. Do not buy that house. Do not step inside it. And whatever you do, never open the locked room on the 3rd floor. They said it with lowered voices, like the house itself could hear them speaking and remember their names forever. At 8 months pregnant, broke, and freshly divorced, Aaliyah Farrow bought it anyway. Fear felt like a luxury she could no longer afford. Her husband had left her for someone younger. The bank had taken her apartment. Friends stopped calling. When everything collapses, even haunted houses begin to look like shelter. The mansion stood alone on a cliff above the river. Iron gates twisted with rust. Windows dark like unblinking eyes. It once belonged to Victor Farrow, a powerful industrialist who vanished 40 years earlier. No body was ever found. No heirs ever claimed the property. Only rumors remained, thick as dust. Aaliyah purchased the mansion through a government auction without ever seeing it in person. The price was unbelievably low, almost insulting. The paperwork included warnings, vague and legal, but nothing that could stop her. When she arrived, cold wind screamed through the trees like a warning she refused to understand. She rested a hand on her belly and whispered to her unborn child, telling him they would survive together. Inside, the air was heavy, smelling of old wood and metal. The floors creaked beneath her feet, not weak, but alert, as if the house was aware she had returned after decades of waiting. That first night, Aaliyah slept on a thin mattress near the fireplace. The fire burned low, offering little warmth. At exactly 2:17 in the morning, she woke suddenly. Heavy footsteps echoed above her, slow and deliberate, stopping directly over her head in the silence. She held her breath, listening. Then came a single sound from the ceiling above. One firm knock, controlled and intentional. Her heart slammed violently. She did not scream. She did not move. She waited until morning light crept across the floor like permission to breathe again. The next day, she searched the study for distractions. While cleaning the fireplace, her hand brushed against a loose brick. Behind it, she found a folded letter, yellowed with age. The first line made her hands shake uncontrollably. It read simply, "I am sorry for what I buried here." At the bottom, one sentence remained. "The truth is not in the locked room. It is beneath it." Aaliyah slowly lifted her eyes toward the staircase leading upward. For the first time, she felt certain. The house had not been abandoned. It had been waiting for her specifically. Aaliyah stood in front of the 3rd floor door for a long time before touching it. The hallway was narrow, the wallpaper peeling like old scars. The air colder than the rest of the house. The door itself was strange. It was not simply locked. Wooden planks had been nailed across it from the inside, as if someone had desperately tried to keep something contained. She told herself she would only look, nothing more. Her hand trembled as she pressed against the door. A faint draft brushed her skin, cold and unnatural. 2 days later, while cleaning the kitchen cabinets, she found a key hidden inside a false drawer bottom. It was old, brass, and carved with a small rose at the top. Her stomach tightened. She knew without doubt what it belonged to. Back upstairs, she removed the loose boards one by one. Each nail screamed as it came free, echoing through the empty mansion. When the final plank dropped, the door creaked open just enough to reveal darkness beyond. Inside was not a bedroom, but a narrow staircase spiraling downward. The air smelled damp, heavy with secrets untouched for decades. Aaliyah hesitated only once before, turning on her phone, flashlight and stepping down carefully, one slow step at a time. The staircase led to a hidden room beneath the house. Wood-paneled walls, a long table, empty bottles, and an enormous iron safe embedded into the stone wall. Papers were scattered everywhere, yellowed and brittle. She knelt, picking them up with shaking hands. Ledgers, maps, names, dates. Then she saw it. A folder labeled in bold black ink, Farrow, Confidential. Her breath caught painfully in her chest. She opened it. Inside were documents detailing shell companies, hidden accounts, and carefully planned disappearances. At the center was a photograph. A young woman holding a baby, fear frozen in her eyes. Around her neck was a pearl necklace Aaliyah recognized instantly. It had belonged to her grandmother. According to the file, her grandmother had been married to Victor Farrow under a different name. The man who vanished was not just an industrialist. He had built a fortune through secrets, power, and silence. And when everything collapsed, her grandmother had run, changing her name and burying the truth forever. Aaliyah sank into a chair, her legs weak. Her entire family history had been a lie told for survival. As she stood to leave, a sound echoed above her. Footsteps, not old echoes, real ones. Someone was inside the house. Her phone buzzed in her hand. An unknown number. She answered, heart racing. You should not have opened that door, a calm male voice said. Now you are part of this. The call ended. The silence returned. Aliyah understood one thing clearly. The locked room was never meant to protect people from the house. It was meant to protect the world from what the house contained. Aliyah did not sleep that night. She sat in the living room with the fireplace poker resting across her knees, every sound magnified by fear. The words from the phone call replayed endlessly in her mind. You are part of this. Whoever had called her knew exactly what she had found. That meant the secret was still alive. Just before dawn, headlights cut through the fog outside the mansion. A black SUV stopped at the gate. Aliyah froze. Two men stepped out, tall and sharply dressed, their movements slow and confident. They did not knock. They circled the property, testing doors, peering into windows. She turned off every light and hid behind the curtains, holding her breath. After several minutes, one of the men slid a white envelope beneath the gate. Then they left. When the sun finally rose, Aliyah retrieved the envelope. Inside was a single typed message. Leave the house. Forget what you found. This is your only warning. Underneath was a photograph. It showed Aliyah in the hidden room holding the confidential folder. The image was clear, recent, and impossible. Her hands shook violently. Someone had been watching her the entire time. Instead of leaving, Aliyah drove into town. She visited the local historical office and showed the old photograph of her grandmother. The elderly clerk studied it carefully before whispering the truth. Victor Farrow's wife had disappeared after a federal investigation. She had been pregnant. The child was never found. Aliyah felt dizzy. That child was her father. On her way back, her phone rang again. The same voice spoke, colder this time. You have something that does not belong to you. It belongs to my family, Aliyah replied, surprising herself with her calm. That night, she returned to the hidden room and studied the ledgers closely. One repeated phrase stood out, written again and again in Victor Farrow's handwriting. The river remembers everything. The next morning, Aliyah followed the riverbank beyond the mansion. Near an old oak tree, she noticed a rose carved into the bark, identical to the one on the key. Beneath a pile of stones, she found a metal hatch. Inside was another underground chamber. Not gold alone, but proof. Documents, recordings, names of powerful men still alive. Evidence that could destroy careers, governments, empires. Back at the mansion that evening, a knock came at the door. An older man stood there, his eyes sharp and knowing. He handed her a leather notebook. Your grandfather trusted that one day, someone brave enough would return, he said. Looks like it's you. As he walked away, Aliyah understood. This was no longer about fear. This was about choice, and she was done running. The morning after the stranger left, the mansion felt different, lighter, as if it knew the truth was no longer buried. Aliyah sat at the kitchen table, the leather notebook open in front of her. Names filled its pages. Some were long dead. Others were very much alive. At the end, one sentence stood alone. Do not let them erase us. Aliyah knew what she had to do. She contacted a lawyer outside the region, someone untouched by the names in the files. Together, they secured the estate, the assets, and the evidence under a protected trust. The men who had threatened her stopped calling. Silence became her shield. She began repairing the mansion, hiring local workers who needed second chances. Room by room, the house healed. So did she. Weeks later, Aliyah founded a nonprofit in her grandmother's name. The mansion became a place of refuge for women with nowhere else to go. Pregnant women, divorced women, women rebuilding themselves from ashes. The locked room remained closed, but no longer out of fear. It was preserved as a reminder. One evening, as Aliyah rocked on the porch, her son kicked gently inside her. She smiled, resting her hand on her belly. You will know where you come from, she whispered. The house stood silent behind her, no longer haunted by secrets, but guarded by truth. And for the first time in her life, Aliyah felt safe.